Alright, welcome back to the Crabby Dice. Today we're going to be looking at Hadara from Z-Man game. So the theme to this game, well, we're building a civilization and drafting cards, adding it to our tableau, getting some bonuses and so on and so on. But you know what? This is going to be the setup and rules breakdown video. Click on the link below if you want to see my review and playthrough video. And like usual, before we start, three things. Please like, subscribe, and comment on my YouTube channel. That would be fantastic. Let's get started. Alright, let's start the setup by laying out our game board in the middle of the table. It's made up of puzzle board pieces. Just set them up in any order that you like. Alright, next let's deal with our decks of cards. You're going to have 15 different decks of cards separated by color and number. The numbers indicate the rounds and the color indicate the type of cards and where they're going to slot in on the game board. Alright, so for the start of the game, you're only going to be using the number 1 cards. And you're going to place the number of cards equal to the number of players times 2. In the middle. So in a 3-player game, like I'm simulating here, you're gonna have 6 of each of these types of cards in the middle of the table. The rest could be returned back into the game box. When you're done that, let's go to our colonies here. You're gonna sort of do the exact same thing. You're gonna separate them by their strength indicated in the bottom left. Alright, and then you're also gonna use the amount of colonies equal to the number of players. The rest could be returned back into the game box. On a 3-player game, I'll have 3 of each. On the side of the board, you're gonna have your plus 10 chits, your money tokens, and your setup cards. Alright, let's go to our player board area. Each player is going to get a player board. Their icon is going to be in the top right. Each player is going to get 8 bonus chits, 2 of every color, 2 medals, alright, and 4 markers. Alright, your markers are all going to start at 0 for now. Alright, when everyone's done that, you're going to hand each player a random setup card. Alright, so if you're playing the basic game, use the A side. If not, you can choose which side you want to start on, but let's just say I want to pick the A side. And this is going to give you a couple pieces of information. First, how much money you're going to start the game with. Alright, next, where your markers are going to start on your board. So in this case here, I'm going to start with 3 money, 2 military, 1 culture, and 4 food. Alright, now if you are playing more than 3 players, alright, the 2 players, or in a 4-player game, the player with the highest number is going to actually get $1 as compensation because they're never going to end up being first player in the game. So in a 3-player game, nobody's going to get the extra $1. But in a 4-player game, 1 person is going to get $1, and in a 5-player game, 2 people are going to get an extra $1. Alright, welcome to the rules breakdown to Hadara. So at its core, this is just a pure drafting game. Very, very similar to games like 7 Wonders and Among the Stars. Alright, so a lot of what you're going to be doing in this game is drafting the cards, deciding whether you want to keep the card or destroy the card for the money. Alright, so the structure of the game is very set in stone. You're always going to be playing 3 different rounds, and each round is broken up into 2 separate phases and 2 sort of management phases as well. Alright, so during round 1 you're going to have phase A, then some sort of cleanup management, then you're going to have phase B and another sort of cleanup management. And then you're going to move on to the second round, do the exact same thing, and at the end of 3 rounds, whoever has the most points is going to win the game. Alright, so for the start of this video here, what I'm going to show you is phase A, then I'm going to talk about phase B, and then I'm going to show you how to draft the cards, and then I'll come back to talk about endgame scoring. Alright, so phase A, every single round starts the exact same way. The first player is going to decide which deck of cards they want to draft from first. In the first round, the first player is going to be the person with the lowest number on their setup card. In round 2, the second lowest. In round 3, you guessed it, the third lowest. Alright, so let's say I was the monkey and I was the first player, and I really wanted to draft the green card first. I can point my icon at the green deck, and this is not going to change again for the rest of the round. In round 2 it'll rotate again, but for the rest of round 1 it'll stay where it is. Alright, now everyone's going to take 2 cards from the deck of cards where their icon is currently pointing. Alright, so as the monkey player, I'm going to take 2 green cards, and let's say I was playing with the beetle player, they would also take 2 purple cards, and so on and so on and so on. Alright, now from the 2 cards that you've taken, 1 card you're going to not draft, you're going to place it in the discard pile from the same color. Alright, so each player is going to do this. So let's say this player here decided to discard this card. Alright, the other card is the card where you're going to decide whether to draft it into your tableau or discard it for money. Alright, I'll talk about the mechanism for this drafting in the following section, but let's just say I want to keep this card. Now when everyone's done this, you can all do this simultaneously. When everyone's discarded a card, you can actually move on to the next deck of cards. So you're going to be doing this for all 5 decks of cards. So at the end of phase A, alright, you're going to have dealt with 10 different cards. 5 of them are going to be going to the discard pile. 5 of them you're going to be choosing whether to keep them or to discard it for money. Alright, and at the end of phase A, you can sort of tell that the phase is over when the complete draw decks are empty, and you're going to have the discard decks equal to the cards equal to the amount of players. So you're going to have 3 cards in each of the discard decks, and that's the end of phase A. Alright, so now let's circle back and actually talk about these cards, what you're doing with these cards, and the anatomy of a card. So I already explained below, when you have a card and you're drafting a card, you have 2 choices. You're either going to add this card to your tableau, or you're going to discard this card for money. Alright, if you discard it for money, you're going to flip the card over. It's going to tell you how much money you're going to gain from the general supply. You're going to take it, add it to your personal supply, and then you're going to throw this card back into the game box. Very, very important that you do not add it back to the discard piles. It goes back into the box. Alright, but let's say you want to keep the card. Let's look at the anatomy of a card so you can sort of understand what it means. Alright, so the top here indicates the bumps of the tracks you're going to have if you add this card to your tableau. Alright, so I'm going to gain 2 military and 1 culture by getting this card. Alright, the bottom left is going to be the cost of the card without the discounts. I'll talk about the discounts in a couple seconds. And the bottom right is the points that you're going to score from this card at the end of the game. So this card is going to give me 4 points. Now let's say I want to keep this card. What you're going to do before paying, you're going to add it to your stack here, and you're going to get a discount for each card of the same color you already have. Alright, so in this case here, this card was supposed to cost me 6, but it's actually going to cost me only 4 because I already have 2 cards of that color. Alright, once I pay, let's say I put $4 into the general supply, so you always pay back to the bank in the middle of the table. And then when you place the card, you're going to add it to your tableau here. I like to show the numbers. I'll show you why in a couple seconds. And then you're going to gain the bumps of the tracks. So in this case here, I gain 2 red and 1 blue. Right? And that's how you draft the card. Now, the reasons why you don't want to cover up these numbers is if these numbers ever get jumbled or mixed about, you can recalculate by just adding up the numbers together and by adding your setup card as well to figure out where you're supposed to be. Now, if you ever go off the track, if you gain more than 10, you're just going to get a plus 10 marker from the center of the table. So let's just say I was at 10 and I gained another 2. I'll get a plus 10 token, and then I would add plus 2 over here. Alright, so that's how these plus 10 tokens work. And you're just going to be keep drafting cards. You're going to be adding them to your tableau. You're going to be gaining the stats from the cards, and you're going to be moving up the tracks. And I'm going to explain you these tracks in the following sections. Alright, so at the end of phase A, remember when all the decks in the middle of the table have run dry, you're going to go to sort of a maintenance phase. Alright, and you're going to follow the same 3 steps every single time. And these are where you're actually going to look at your tracks and resolve them. Alright, so I'll explain to you what all these tracks mean. Alright, so the first step every single time is you're going to gain money equal to where your income track is. Alright, so in this example here, I'm at 5, so I'm going to gain $5 from the general supply and add it to my personal supply. Alright, step 2 is looking at your military strength, and that's where you're going to try to conquer a colony. Alright, so you're going to look at your strength, and you're going to see if you meet the requirement of any of the colonies. Alright, so they range from 3 to 30. Alright, and in this example here, I was at 4, so I would be able to take the strength 3 colony tile. Now, this is just a requirement. You don't actually have to pay this by going down the track. Okay, now you can have at most 1 of each strength tile. That's why you have 1 per number of player. So once you take a level 3, well, you need to raise your military strength to get to the next one. Right? You can never have 2 of the same number in your tableau. Alright, so when you take one, you're going to add it to your tableau, and then you're going to have a choice. Alright, so you get to choose whether you want to keep it face up or flip it on the other side. Alright, if you keep it face up, you're going to gain money from the bank, and you're going to score points at the end of the game indicated on the bottom right. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to gain the money, and then you're going to add it to your tableau on your left over here and not flip it over. Alright, your other option is to flip it over, but you have to choose without looking at the back of the tile. Alright, you never look at the back of the tile before choosing. Alright, the cost of flipping it over is indicated on the right hand side of the slash, and you would pay the bank and then you flip this tile over. So let's say I wanted to flip the tile over because I had a lot of money. So you can pay a coin to the bank because it's a coin here, and then I'd flip it over. Alright, these work just like cards. You're going to gain bumps on the track indicated what's indicated on the tile, and then you're going to score more points, generally what's in the bottom right, at the end of the game. All right, whether you keep it face up or flip it over, you're going to add it to your tableau on the right hand side over here. And just as a reminder, in the bottom left, it'll tell you the strength of this colony, and you can't have more than one of this strength colony in your tableau. And the third step you're going to do is looking at your culture, and it works exactly the same way as the military, except military is for colonies and culture is for building your statues here on the left hand side of your board right over here. All right, so just like the colonies, the minimum requirement to build a statue is indicated on the top of the numbered area here. So for the first statue, it costs, or you would have 6 culture on your track. So just like colonies, you don't have to spend it on your track, you just have to have it. All right, when that happens, you've unlocked this spot and you have a couple of options. So just like colonies, everything is a couple of options. All right, you're gonna slot one of your bonus tiles in this slot. All right, but you get to slot the bonus tile either for points or for bumps on the track. All right, so for example here, let's say I took a red token, I added it to my track or my statue. All right, and what this would do is I would gain the bumps on the track indicated by the number on the left. All right, so here I will gain 2 red because I slotted in a red token. All right, let's put this back. Your other option is to take any of those bonus tiles and flip it on the other side, and this is a point scoring chit. And at the end of the game, you're going to score points equal to, instead of the bumps on the track, the points times the number that's on the left. All right, so in total at the end of the game, this spot here is going to give me 4 plus 2 is going to be 6 points. All right, but when you build the statue, you get to decide any of these bonuses, either color side up or point side up, slot it into the spot, and then move on to the end of the maintenance phase. All right, and those are the 3 steps you're going to do at the end of phase A. All right, you're going to check your yellow, your red, and your blue. All right, you're not going to check your green. Your green is actually something you're only going to do at the end of phase B, which is before the following round. But just as a general summary, this is indicating how many cards you can actually have in your tableau without having to sacrifice some cards. All right, and after doing those 3 steps, all right, you're going to move on to phase B. All right, so phase B is another round of drafting. All right, now that we're looking at the board, all right, you're going to see only cards in the discard piles. And starting with the first player, what you're going to do is draft any of the cards from the discard pile. You can't look at any of the cards in the stack currently. Hopefully you were paying attention while people were discarding their cards, but you'll take any of the cards and decide what you want to do with the card. Again, you're going to always decide whether you want to keep the card and add it to your tableau, or you're going to discard the card to gain the money. All right, so as the first player, let's say I really wanted this green card. I'll take this green card and I'll add it to my tableau by paying the money, and then I'll move on to the next player. Now the next player can pick any card. Let's say they would have picked the red card, and let's say they would have discarded it for money. They'll gain the money, and then I'll move on to the next player. And you always move in clockwise order. So let's say they wanted to also take a red card, and let's say the next player also wanted a red card, and so on and so on. So you're going to keep doing this. So phase B works very similar to phase A, except phase A you're taking from the unknown draw stacks. Phase B you're taking it from the discard stack. And phase B is going to basically end when all the cards have been emptied out from the whole game board. Alright, so after phase B, you're going to go to another maintenance phase, but this time you're going to do 5 steps instead of 3. Alright, the first 3 are exactly the same as the ones we talked about previously. The first one is income. You're going to gain income from the general supply according to your marker. Next one is military. You're going to try to conquer another colony. The third one is culture. You're going to try to build another statue if you have the requirement for statues. After that, you're going to actually look at your food production. So that's step 4. All right. Now, this is something you don't have to do at the end of phase A, but at phase B, you need to check how many citizens you're actually feeding in your tableau. Basically, the number that you have here is how many cards you can have in your tableau. So in this case, I have 8, but I have 9 cards in my tableau, which basically means I need to discard a card. Alright, so there's no point in drafting a ton of cards without raising your green, because you'll have to end up discarding them at the end of the round. So in this scenario here, I have to discard a card. Let's say I want to discard this card. And when you discard a card, you always lose the benefit that they gave you when you drafted the card. So in this case, I'm going to drop my blue down by 2. Alright, and then this will go back into the game box. Alright, so that's how the green track works. Just as a friendly reminder, when you're checking the food, if you discard a card with a green stat on it, you'll move down the track and then you'll have to discard more cards until you fit the requirement. Alright, so try not to discard cards with food icons on them. Alright, and the fifth step of the maintenance phase is buying metals. Alright, so the first 4 things that you're doing are sort of mandatory, alright, but buying metals is optional. You don't have to. Alright, so you can buy silver metals or gold metals. Alright, the cost of the metals are going to be indicated on your player aid over here. So during round 1, a silver metal is 4 and a gold metal is 6, and so on and so on. So as the game goes, even though you're building up more income, it is going to get more and more expensive as the game goes on. Alright, now what do you get with a silver medal? So silver medals work very similar to statues. What you're going to do is you're going to slot in one of your bonus discs or tiles into one of the silver medal slots over here. I'm going to talk about the endgame scoring bonus of this in the following section. Alright, so that's how silver medals work. You have to have the bonus chit available. So for example, if both of these yellows were in my statues, well, I wouldn't be able to slot in a yellow bonus token. Alright, gold medals. Very simple. You're going to take one of your 2 gold medals and you're just going to add it to your player board over here. Again, I'm going to talk about this at the end game scoring section, which is the following section. Alright, and that's pretty much it. Alright, so before talking about end game scoring, I'm just going to talk 5 seconds here about the round reset. It works really similar just to the start of the game. Alright, so when you're going to start round 2, you're going to, again, look at your round 2 cards. You're going to use the exact same number of cards equal to the amount of players times 2. You're going to take those amount of cards and slot them into your draw decks here. And then you're ready to start the next round. Alright, starting with the next round, like usual, starts with the first player for that round deciding which deck you want to draw from. And then you'll just move on to the following round using the exact same structure. You can do phase A, grabbing 2 cards. Before phase B, you're going to do a maintenance phase. So remember steps 1, 2, and 3. Then you're going to go to phase B where you're drawing from the discard piles. And then you're going to go to the final maintenance phase, and then you're going to sort of do the reset to go to the final epoch, which is round 3. Alright, and finally after 3 rounds, you're going to go to end game scoring. So scoring is going to work the exact same way. You're going to take out a pen and paper, alright, and you're going to calculate. Alright, so let's go in order. So the first thing you're going to do is look at your colonies. You're going to score points equal to all your colonies. So here I would just get 7 points. Alright, next you're going to look at your statues and you score your statues. For each of your statue that was built, you're going to score points that's indicated on the top. You're also going to score extra points for the statues that are on the point side. So here would give me no extra points, so this would only be 4. But here I would actually get 3 extra points, so this one in total would be 11. Right, after that you're going to score your silver medals. So you can either score 1 or 2 silver medals. Right, and the way silver medals work is you're going to look at the color that's currently slotted into that silver medal. Right, and you're going to score half as many points as that track's value. So in this scenario here, let's say I got my red to 24, I would score 12 extra points. Right, now if both of these were red, you basically get 12 points and 12 points, 24 points. Alright, but you can have different colors or the same color, it doesn't matter. Alright, after that you're going to score your gold medals. Alright, and the way gold medals work is for each set of cards in your tableau, you're going to score 7 points if you have 1 medal or 14 points if you have both medals. Alright, in this case here I would get no extra points, but let's say I had 2 blue cards. I would have only 1 set because I'm missing a yellow card, but let's just say I had 2 of each. I would score 2 times 7, 14 points. Alright, after that you're going to go through all the cards in your tableau and you're going to score points indicated on the bottom right. Alright, and finally for every 5 coins you have left over in your tableau, you're going to score 1 point. You're going to total all of that together, and whoever has the most points is going to win the game. Alright, I hope you enjoyed it. Click the link below if you want to see the playthrough. If not, we'll see you in the next one. Later.